Hey, what's up everybody? Today I wanted to make a quick video on the importance of using Go's context when executing your database queries. I don't mean just providing a context generally, but I also mean setting a timeout or a deadline on your context that you provide when executing your database queries. We've had several issues crop up at work related to context not being properly provided when executing database queries. So I thought this would be some general information that would be best practice to share with you guys. So just a really quick rundown of what I've got set up here. I've just got a Docker Compose file that's running my Postgres database, feeding in my environment variables. I've got an envrc file just with my simple local database config. And I've also got a constructor ready that sets up my database connection for me. It's just providing those environment variables. I've also got a empty file here that I'll use to write some simple code to demonstrate why it's important for you to provide context in your database queries. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to construct my database connection, and then I'm going to execute a query that takes a really long time to execute and show you how that impacts my application. In order to simulate a long-running query, I'm going to be using a helper utility in Postgres called PG Sleep. And this is because I won't be able to, simulate an actual poorly performing query. So first things first, let's go ahead and set up the database connection. So I've got this helper ready. And I'm just going to log fatal if there's an error returned and I can't connect. And let's go ahead and defer DB close. Next, let's execute the query using the exec function or exec method. So we've got exec and exec context. I'm going to demonstrate both of these examples. First, we're going to do exec. And what I'm going to do is just do select pg underscore sleep. And I'm going to pass in the sleep time in seconds. So let's do like 15 seconds for now. And in this result, we'll just get 2 arguments provided. I don't care about the first one. I'll check the second one. If there's an error, I'll just log fatal again. I'm also going to add some logging just so we can see what's happening in the application. Okay, so what's going to happen here is we should have, our database connection established, and we'll have a query that hangs here for 15 seconds, and I'm going to show you what it looks like in this console when I execute this query here. So I'm going to open up the terminal. We're going to run this. It's preparing to execute that here. I'm executing this query, so now we can see that PG Sleep is running. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my terminal. We're still hanging here. It's waiting for the query to finish completing. And there it is. It took 15 seconds to execute. Now, in real life, if you write a bad query, you do not want your application to behave this way. You want your client to be able to cancel this request to the database if it's taking too long to finish. So maybe you've got like a web application running. You want a 60-second timeout or whatever seems reasonable for your application. This is where it's super important that you provide a context and you also set a deadline or a timeout on your context so that your application can reclaim execution instead of hanging. So what we're going to do is we're just going to set up a context that provides a deadline of maybe 10 seconds and we'll reclaim execution control. Okay, so we've got a context set up. Now we need to provide that context to our database execution here. So now if we are exceeding this deadline or exceeding this timeout for this operation, the deadline will be exceeded. Okay, so if we exceed this timeout here, we're going to go ahead and throw an error, and then that way our application doesn't sit there hanging. This can cause major problems. All right, so let's go ahead and run this again. I've got this running here. It's doing the PG sleep for 15 seconds. So now what's going to happen is we'll get an error that's thrown due to this timeout being canceled. What's happened is we've got this error here stating that the user request was canceled. This is exactly what we want in this situation. This query took way too long to execute, so our context handled this for us. And something that's good to note is that each method in the standard library will have a context version of each of these database methods. So anytime you need to execute a query or anything like this, you can provide a context. That's it. That's all I had for you today. Real quick video. I hope this information was useful. Remember this so you don't make a rookie mistake. This can cause major problems on your database and also just performance in general. This can cause your application to hang. So remember this next time you're writing your database code and writing queries. If this was useful, definitely leave a like, consider subscribing. If you got any crazy stories, leave them down in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.